Dayne, this first one against Mexico, and we're going to play it through. I want to talk to you about your athleticism here. What do you see when you see this opportunity coming towards you, in particular, once the ball gets beyond the goalkeeper? Talk to me a little bit there as we pause it, when you look like you've really charged out to the ball.
I think for me, I know obviously I have a big frame, and for my size, I'm also very flexible. So it's just about making myself as big in that situation and limiting how much they can. And of course, a lot of strikers now like to shoot between the legs. Right. So I think it's just being aware of that and making sure that I'm getting as close as I can to the attacker, but also in a set position and keeping my body low so that the ball doesn't go under me. And then I want my hands in a position where if they try to go for a chip or anything like that, that I can react with my hands as well.
It's a great answer. So you keep it low there just for the shot, but also I see that your right foot comes out just at the crucial time. How important is it there for you, and I guess all young goalkeepers watching you, to keep your eye on the ball?
Yeah, for sure. I think in moments like this, some goalies would like to dive at it. I feel more comfortable kind of from that little crouch position, I guess you can call it. And I also know that I have really long legs, so if the striker does try to maybe take a touch to the side, similar to the one kind of last night where I can still get a foot to it, or kind of make it so that they have to take such a wide touch that the angle's bad. And then of course I've got 4 guys recovering, so if it comes to that, it might be a clearance off the line or anything like that. But in the moment like this, I'm just trying to make it as difficult as I can for the striker.
Okay, great. Let's go to the next one. This one is the Dutch game, and it's a breakaway. I think it's Brian Bobby at this point. We're going to pause it just there, just as you come into shot. And look, you've got that crouch position there. Before we move on, when you're that far away, the distance between you and the ball, and you're just crouching, what are you thinking at that moment? Do you go? Are you waiting? What's your thought process in there?
Yeah, I think it's assessing the situation. Of course, you don't want to go too early where you're too far out the net and can't use your hands, maybe even outside the 18. I also know that Moyes is really fast, so I'm trying to give him every opportunity that he can to get as close as he can to affect him, whether it's a tackle or even if it's not just a hand on the shoulder or something like that to throw him off balance. But you also don't want to be too deep in the net where he has the whole goal to shoot at. So I think you're assessing the touches, and kind of right when that touch kind of gets away from him a little bit is kind of when I really go to fully engage, and then getting into that spread position where I can get my legs down but my hands in a place where I can still react as well. And Moyes does brilliantly until he comes crashing into me as well.
I guess you're going to get hurt there, right? A little bit, but that's a great save. Let's go to the next one. This is Copa America, and this is the 3rd place game, but again, a little bit similar, where the player comes on a one-on-one, and at this point, it's a different position. It's out wide. For other goalkeepers watching, how important is it here that you actually don't go out to the ball and you guard that near post?
Yeah, I think obviously you have to scan and assess the situation too. You don't want to get too far out your net where if he does pass it across, you give yourself no chance to save the ball. Obviously, Richie's doing really well to fight it, but there is still a possibility where he could square it and it becomes more of a cutback. So you want to make sure that you can kind of be in a position where you can deal with both. And yeah, you always want to, for me, I always want to respect the first post. I know obviously I have a good range where I can still cover the far post, but for me, the first post is always the most important thing in goalkeeping.
Good to know. Next one is, I think, one of my favorite saves that you've made, one of your favorite saves for me as well. This is the Mexico game. The context of the game is important here too, right? You've gone down a goal, they're putting a lot of pressure on you. It's high intensity, you could have had a penalty the other end, and then Alvarado gets a breakaway one-on-one. What are you thinking here? Because there's a moment where you go back and then you start to go forward.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, under this system, we're required to play high with how high our line is as well. And I think the most difficult one for these ones sometimes is the bouncing ball, because he can easily loop it over me. So I'm kind of assessing the situation. They tried to chip me earlier in the game as well, so I know that was probably on their scouting report. So I'm just seeing the first ball is kind of where I start to back up in case he does go for the chip. And then once I see that the ball's back in front of him, can I now engage? Because if I continue to back up, I'm just going to be in no man's land. So I've got to go attack it and make myself big. And of course, it hits my foot and it goes wide. But when we're playing high in these situations, we know that it's going to benefit us more than not. But of course, there's going to be times where we're going to get caught out as well.
We'll go to the next one, which is in the Nations League as well. This is a free kick and actually a planned move by the US. What do you see here? Talk us through it, particularly as you, again, show your athleticism and speed and instincts to anticipate what's coming there at the back post.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest improvements from my game has been my ability to scan and see the whole picture versus just zoning in on the guy. I think maybe when I was younger, I would assume that for sure it's going to be a shot and not be aware of where Luna is in this picture. But I think I have in my peripheral, of course, but I have a visual of him being there, and I know that if the ball does get kind of played down, I need to go attack it and make myself as big as possible in the situation.
And so once you see it get to Luna there, if you pause it actually before the ball's coming over, it looks like he's got almost a clear goal. How quickly you move across, does that make, does that show the progress? That must make you really proud to see something like that and how fast you've moved. How hard is that to work on and get better at?
Yeah, for sure. Of course, the hardest thing for us in our position is to emulate game speed. And of course, we're in a reactive position where we're moving to whatever the attackers and our back line is doing. So you can work on the footwork as much as you want, but until you have that instinct in the game, it's the hardest thing for us to emulate. But for me, yeah, showing that and have the first step, I think, is the most important. Because if I drop one step, then I'm too late. So it's being clear in the decision, and once I decide to go, it's fully committing to the save.
Next one is the game against Honduras. This is the one-on-one where I think you get a kick in the face. Do you?
I did get kicked in the face.
But this is a breakaway by Lozano. And again, is this similar to what we were talking about before? I'm in awe of how fast you get out from the 6 and then how low you get down. Is that important here?
Yeah, I think obviously with my frame, the hardest thing for me is probably low balls in this situation. So I know if I can kind of get low, that's normally where shooters are gonna, in a play like this especially, he doesn't really have time to probably chip it because he doesn't have time to think about the situation really. Richie's recovering well, so he's probably gonna try to slide it to one of my sides, I think. And then I think once he sees me, he actually tries to dribble it because I think he realizes that there's no real angle for him. And then, unfortunately, the ball bounces over me, and then he kicks me in the face, which I think is a foul. But credit to the guys behind me as well. You see the commitment to go and to continue to block shots. You see how many guys are coming back in the frame and the commitment that we have to really defend as 11. And, yeah.
When you talk about what he can't really do there by chipping, do you have that in your mind when you're making the save? Does that all run through right away? And it's not just on you, it's reading the other players' movements too?
Yeah, I think for me, I'm always, of course, the attacker's coming in, but I want to give the ability to our defenders to recover. I think we have a lot of guys that are really good in these moments. Of course, Richie is known for his strength, and I know that he can throw him off balance, and trying to chip the ball while you're off balance is a lot harder than trying to put it on the ground. So for me, I don't want to come and engage too early so that it makes the decision for him. I want to think about all the decisions he can make and let that run through his mind versus I come flying out and he knows, okay, I'm making the decision for him.
Right.
So that's kind of how I assess the situation, is seeing that fuller picture and allowing our defenders to really be defenders in the moment versus I come flying out, he chips the ball over, and it doesn't give Richie a chance to go and affect the play, even though the guy has an advantage on him in this moment.
Do you prefer that save to the one on Kyoto that everyone was talking about, or is the Kyoto one your favorite? And talk me through a little bit with the Kyoto one, because that's more instinctive, no?
Yeah, that one was definitely more instinctive. I think it was actually the corner kick from this play, and defending with 10 men. Obviously, we're up 3-0 in the game at this point in time, but 50th minute, you allow a goal, the game changes very quickly, or can change. I should say. And I think for me, it was making sure, knowing that we were a man down in the set piece, which you never want to be, that everyone's tuned in. And I credit Tajon a lot as well, because he was in that back post, but threw his body at the ball to really block that back post, which allows me to a little bit more to anticipate it coming back to my near post.
Awesome. Dayne, this has been fantastic. What a lesson. I love it. Thank you so much for this. You've got a future as a goalkeeper coach, I think, as well, when you've done this. You like this? Do you go through these yourself, these plays sometimes?
Yeah, for sure. You definitely want to be analytical of yourself. And obviously not everything's always going to be perfect, and sometimes you're judged by the result.
Yeah.
But I think internally we're looking at the processes of, okay, even though I made a save here, is there a way that I can improve it? Or the ball went in on this thing, but you did everything you could. So I think it's always being analytical, and I think there's probably no one more critical than myself of a lot of these plays. So I think it's not just looking at the result of keeping the ball at the net. Of course, that's always what you want to do in the main goal, but sometimes we obviously do get lucky when the ball doesn't go in, and vice versa. Sometimes we're unlucky when we feel like you've had a great performance and the ball ends up in the back of the net, is something that you can't fully control.
Class has been in session. This has been awesome for us. Thank you so much for this. I'm sure young goalkeepers as well.
Of course.
And keep up the great work in the #1 net for Canada. Appreciate you.
Thank you very much.